Welcome to this microlearning session on rescheduling of MRP elements using the new Fiori apps in S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition. With the latest innovations in S/4HANA Cloud, the new Fiori apps bring enhanced visibility, intuitive user experience, and powerful rescheduling capabilities right to your fingertips. In this short learning module, you will discover how to identify and analyze rescheduling proposals, use the Fiori apps to adjust MRP elements efficiently, improve planning accuracy and responsiveness in your supply chain. Let's take a moment to understand what rescheduling is and why it's an essential part of effective supply chain management. Rescheduling is the system's way of proposing date changes for existing MRP elements, such as purchase orders or blend orders, to better align with actual requirement dates. This helps prevent early or late deliveries, ensure inventory levels remain optimized, support smoother operations and better customer service. Now that we have introduced the concept of rescheduling, let's take a closer look at the scope of this microlearning. We will explore automatic rescheduling triggered by MRP Live. You will learn about the entry points of rescheduling activities. We will cover the standard Fiori apps used for both in-house production and procurement. And we will touch on the available customizing options to tailor the process to your needs. However, this session does not cover MRP change requests or rescheduling using capacity scheduling apps. With that in mind, let's move forward and explore how these tools work in practice. Before we begin the hands-on demonstration, let's take a quick look at the master data structure used throughout this learning module. We will be working with a simplified demo product structure that includes a finished good, a semi-finished good, and 3 raw materials. This structure will serve as a foundation for demonstrating how rescheduling works across different stages of production and procurement. Let's start with a system demo, where we will walk through how to use the Monitor Material Coverage app as an entry point for rescheduling. We will use the Net Segments app version because we will only handle make-to-stock products in this demo. I would recommend to use an own view for your daily activities. I have prepared a dedicated rescheduling view that highlights only the most relevant columns for efficient decision making. This includes past due elements, opening dates that are already in the past, reschedule-in and out dates, and the proposed rescheduling options. As you can see, I have filtered on my materials from the demonstration, and on the right side you see already elements for rescheduling. So I have a couple of elements in the past, and I have a couple of elements which require a rescheduling based on the data in the system. Let's have a closer look at the electric fan, the finished product, and the raw material, the casing. To do that, I mark the relevant lines and click on the Manage Materials button to jump to the Manage Material Coverage app. The first material is a raw material. A reschedule-in activity is proposed because the purchase requisition is too late to meet the dependent requirement. The second material is a finished product. There is a blend order scheduled in the past which is no longer feasible. That's why the system proposes a reschedule-out to shift it to the current or realistic execution date. But let's start at the beginning. I cleaned up my demo data to demonstrate how the MRP run is working. As you can see, at the moment there is no rescheduling proposal available, and everything is fine with our planning situation. I am working with blend independent requirements, and now I simulate that there is a move of 5 pieces from one week to another week. I decrease the quantity in week 34 and increase the quantity in week 33. After updating the Monitor Material Coverage app, we see the change. We have now a shortage at the 11th of August, but there is still no rescheduling proposal in the system. Let's have a closer look at this material now. As you can see on the details, we have now the shortage of 5 pieces at the 11th of August. and there is a rescheduling proposal, or let's say information, blend process according to schedule. But this is not an activity which need to be performed by the end user. That's why there is no rescheduling proposal in that app. We are still working with blend orders, and they are whether fixed nor converted to a production order. That means that the MRP run can solve this issue by itself. Let's go back to the overview screen and execute MRP for the finished product. As you can see, our shortage is gone and we do not have any further issues with our planning situation. This simple example should demonstrate how MRP can help you automatically to solve your shortages in your planning situation. But what happens if we have already firmed elements like production orders or purchase orders? In this case, you get a reschedule-in or reschedule-out proposal by the system. Let's have a closer look. As you can see, the demand have moved from one week to the other, but here we already have a production order which cannot be updated automatically by the MRP run. We see the rescheduling proposal and can update the dates directly from this app by using the Edit button. As you can see, the shortage situation is solved now. Let's go back to the overview. The change of the production date for the electric fan for our finished product is leading to issues with the components like the casing and the control board. But we do not get rescheduling proposals for those components. It seems to be that the MRP can solve these issues by itself. Let's try. After executing the MRP run, we can see that the control board and the casing do not have any issues anymore. But for raw material 3, the resistor, there seems to be an issue and there is a rescheduling proposal available. Let's see why that is the case. In this example, there is already a purchase order item for the resistor in the system. That's why we are getting a rescheduling proposal to move the purchase order to the required date. We can do that by clicking here on the reschedule-in button. You have now several options to execute your rescheduling. You can directly change your date because you have already talked to the vendor, or you set the status that you have requested it at the vendor but you are waiting for an answer, or you request it later. Let's change it directly for our demonstration here. The system is automatically proposing the correct or the necessary date and you can execute the rescheduling. As you can see, there is no further shortage and your situation is solved. Let's go back to the overview. If you are the MRP controller responsible for these materials and there are no further rescheduling proposals in the system, your work is done. Let's have a quick look at the possible customizing options for rescheduling. The first one is define rescheduling check for plant. On plant level, you can define which of the possible firmed elements will be part of a rescheduling proposal by the system. The second part is the comparison values. You can define a threshold which is used for calculating the rescheduling proposals. That means that the system is proposing rescheduling only if the difference between the requirement date and the current planned date is more than 2 days. The second possibility of customization in the area of rescheduling is linked to the shortage definition. As you can see, by default SAP delivers 4 shortage definitions, but these definitions can be customized. The first 3 customizing options are linked to the shortage profiles. You can define in detail what MRP elements are used to calculate the shortages in the system. Great job! You have just completed the microlearning session on rescheduling in MRP. Let's quickly recap what we have learned. You now understand what rescheduling means in the context of material requirements planning. You have seen how MRP Live can automatically handle rescheduling proposals to keep your supply and demand in sync. You have also explored how to manually manage rescheduling using the Monitor Material Coverage app for control and flexibility. And finally, you have learned about the customizing options available to tailor rescheduling behavior to your business needs. Thanks for joining us, keep exploring, keep learning, and see you in the next session.